In 1490, Leonardo da Vinci was living inside the most powerful palace in Florence, and nobody knew what to do with him. He was designing flying machines, dissecting human corpses in secret, and painting faces that seemed to breathe. The Medici had the most dangerous genius in history under their roof, and they were using him to deliver diplomatic gifts. We have used advanced artificial intelligence to reconstruct the Florence that Leonardo walked every single day, the city that gave him everything, and still could not contain him. To understand what Florence did to Leonardo, you need to see the city as he saw it, not as a museum, as a living, breathing, violent machine. Our AI reconstruction strips away 8 centuries of tourism to show you what his eyes actually recorded. The Ponte Vecchio was not lined with jewelers as it is today. In 1490, it was a working butcher's bridge. Blood ran freely into the Arno from hooks where carcasses hung in the open air. The streets were narrow enough that neighbors on opposite sides could shake hands from their windows. Above everything, Brunelleschi's dome dominated the skyline like a crown over the most ambitious city in Europe. Leonardo looked at that dome every single day, and every single day he was mentally disassembling it. Florence in 1490 was the Silicon Valley of the Renaissance. The Medici family had turned this city into the financial and cultural capital of the Western world. Their wealth funded everything: art, architecture, philosophy, science. And it was Lorenzo the Magnificent himself who had recognized something in Leonardo that no one could quite name or control. Leonardo had arrived in Florence as a teenager, apprenticed to the workshop of Andrea del Verrocchio. Verrocchio reportedly put down his brush permanently after seeing his apprentice paint an angel in one of their shared works. The angel was so far beyond anything the master could produce that he accepted quietly that he had been surpassed by a boy. While other apprentices perfected technique, Leonardo was filling notebooks with questions nobody around him was asking. How does a bird generate lift? What happens inside a human skull? How does water move around an obstacle? He was not just a painter training to become a better painter. He was a scientist who expressed himself through paint. And Florence had no category for what he was. By 1490, Lorenzo had brought Leonardo into the Platonic Academy, an informal gathering of the greatest minds in Florence. Torchlight flickering across the faces of philosophers, poets, and artists in the Medici Palace courtyard. And in the corner, a left-handed man in a violet tunic, writing his notes in mirror script so no one could read them over his shoulder. Always watching, already somewhere else in his mind. Our AI reconstruction takes you inside Leonardo's private studio, a room that no one else in Florence could have imagined existing. On one table, sketches of a flying machine, wings modelled on the anatomy of a bat, a harness for a human pilot, a mechanism driven by leg power. He was not imagining flight as a fantasy. He was engineering it as a practical problem. On another surface, anatomical drawings of a human arm rendered with a precision that would not be matched by medical science for another 2 centuries. Leonardo had obtained human corpses for dissection, working in secret in cold Florentine hospital basements by candlelight, racing against decomposition. And then there was the painting. His technique of sfumato, blending light and shadow so that figures seemed to emerge from darkness itself, was entirely his own invention. The faces he painted seemed to breathe. But here is the contradiction Florence could never resolve. Leonardo almost never finished anything. The city commissioned him, celebrated him, and then waited for months, for years. Florence was a city built on completion, and Leonardo was a mind that could not stop asking the next question long enough to finish answering the last one. Lorenzo de' Medici began to see Leonardo as unreliable. Other artists, younger, faster, more obedient, were delivering results. A city built on commerce needed artists who could meet deadlines. Our reconstruction shows you the Piazza della Signoria in 1490, where power was negotiated and the fate of artists was decided by men who thought in terms of gold. Leonardo walked through this square every day, collecting data. He watched light fall across the Palazzo Vecchio, creating shadows precise enough to use as a sundial. He watched crowds move like water, the same fluid dynamics he was mapping in his notebooks. Everything Leonardo saw became material. Florence was his laboratory, but a laboratory eventually becomes too small for the experiment being conducted inside it. In 1482, Lorenzo sent Leonardo to Milan as a diplomatic gift to Ludovico Sforza, the Duke of Milan. Leonardo went carrying a silver lyre he had made himself, shaped like a horse's skull. He was 30 years old. He would not return to Florence for nearly 18 years. Florence gave Leonardo everything: Verrocchio's discipline, the Medici's resources, the intellectual electricity of the Platonic Academy. The stones of Florence are encoded in every painting he ever made, in the quality of light, in the atmospheric perspective, in the geological precision of the landscapes behind his subjects. But what Florence could not give him was enough space. Leonardo da Vinci was not a product of Florence. He was a force of nature that Florence was fortunate enough to contain briefly before the world claimed him entirely. As the sun sets over the Arno, painting Brunelleschi's dome in shades of copper and gold, we are left with the question Florence never fully answered. What does a city do with a mind it cannot measure? Leonardo left Florence, but Florence never left Leonardo. In the sfumato of the Mona Lisa, in the precision of the Last Supper, in the thousands of notebook pages that mapped a world no one else could see, the light and ambition of 1490. Florence are permanently encoded in everything he ever created. The city that could not contain him made him everything he became. If this reconstruction brought 1490 Florence to life for you, let us know in the comments which historical figure or lost city you want to see rebuilt next. Thank you for walking with us through the Florence of Leonardo da Vinci. Until the next reconstruction.